Like what actually hits my eye is carbon pledge and the food supplies, of course, that was going on. The meet your vacation donation, meet our vacation donation champions, and the vacation donation audiobook is something which is a wonderful initiative. And yeah, it is easy to engage the students or the kids when they are available, practically in front of you. uh, but it is very, very difficult to engage them when we are actually dealing with them on technology online, to make them sit and have the same intensity of involvement. um, is a difficult task. But yes, that's a good thing which you have suggested, and you have been able to do it. We do have a lot of questions coming in. We are going to move towards the question and answer session now. So to start with, I would like to ask a question which is for Abhishek. Uh, you know, when you work with government organizations, when you work with the government schools, right? How do you approach them, and how easy it is for you to implement your project over there and bring the students over there?
Yeah. So now I think some of us can unmute, please. Yeah. So I think there's just some background noise now. So I think when you work with the government schools, you have a lot of stakeholders, right? And the prime movers in this is the right selection of the non-profit. The kind of non-profits you work with is very, very important. What kind of relationship they have. I think we piggyback on their relationship, to start with. Of course, over a period, we build the relationship directly with the school teachers, principal, and the students themselves. See, initially when we were working, with the government, started working in the government schools, I think our thought was that, I think general thought is that, we are giving something, we are doing something, and they should be thankful about it because we have brought something, etc., etc. But I think what we have learned in the last 4 or 5 years, and what has worked for us, we started listening more to the teachers and the principals rather than going with our own ideas. Of course, we will not change the ideas. We will stick to the programs what we have thought. But I think how do we tweak it and how do we customize for their need is where the thing. Also, the appreciation of teachers. Mine, there was a government school teacher. The appreciation of teachers is not much. They even at this point of time, you may be saying that the government school teachers are not at school, but actually they're on the COVID duty. They were in the SLC exam duty. So whenever there's something required, they are always there to perform duties, right? So we had a Super 30 Teachers, an award every year happening where we select 30 best teachers who have used digital adoption. And also we have looked at, the needs of them. They will be small needs, like the principal may not have an infrastructure like that. So we can donate old computer, old laptops and all. Now these are small examples. I'm saying there are multiple ways, but and also bringing students to the office and taking them out for, see, every December, all the private school students go to, Banagata or somewhere, right? But what about the government schools? They get something to do that, right? Now we start, in emphasizing that everything we do for the private school, apart from what happens in the school, of course, that is important. Can we build those programs, taking them for field trips, bringing them to the office? When we did a Children's Day for our employees, we said, while we do Children's Day for employee children, let us invite all our, select, of course, we can't bring everybody, but then every school, five children we bring to our office. And then there is an inclusive children's party where parents and their employees' kids as well as so there are many such things we did over the last 3-4 years, which has won the hearts and minds of these teachers and parents. And today when we approach them that, hey, give me the number of the parents, give me this WhatsApp group, they didn't hesitate it. to give it and work with us, and asking teachers to come and Zoom and take classes. Now you can imagine if in normal situation it is so difficult because take a lot of permissions. So I think the hard work put in by our non-profit partners, and there are many of them, so I don't want to name one of them, and and the relationship of volunteers over this period actually helped us to scale up very fast. Otherwise, it was have been a very uphill task for us. So that's how this was like a small journey. And the last thing which I want to leave on this question is that so there's very very important business model called BOT, build, operate, and transfer. Right. So if you look at the captive centers in India, how it happens, like somebody build them, operate, and then they transfer it, right? Or vice versa. If they want to take their captive center to outsource to IT vendor. So we use this idea that we will not just build it. Let's say if it is a computer center, or if it is a science center, or if it is a tinkering lab, whatever it is, right? Multiple things like that. We will not just build and leave the teachers to to kind of deal with it, right? We will build it, operate it till such time, and ideally is 3 years. Then we will hand over completely to them. So whatever the operation expenses, or staff, or whatever it takes to operate it, we will do that. So that's why the student, the teacher, student, and the school authorities, they started feeling that these guys are not here for just to give and go, but these guys are here to be with us for a longer partnership, and that's how the relationship got more stronger. Yeah, over to you. Now we are on mute again.
Right. Thank you, Abhishek. Another question which has come from Naresh is that most of the rural and slum children does not hold smartphones. So I think Deepak can help me answering this. That how do we deal with the situation where you don't have smartphones or internet connectivity, um, and to reach out to them and help them overall?
Yeah, very challenging in terms of lack of access to connectivity and logistics. Somebody should go on mute now. Thank you. So that's where I mentioned that in my opening remarks about profiling of the students. One of the questions, or rather the topmost, the first question to be asked is, does the student have access to computer, smartphone with internet, and can attend live classes? Great. Then it is synchronous teaching, where real time a teacher is there, which would be a volunteer or a teacher of a government school, college, or somebody, a staff member of a non-profit, and so on. And at the other end, there's a student, right? There's a learner. That's synchronous teaching. Okay, it's not there. Okay, then does the student have access to smartphone but cannot attend live class? Okay, in that scenario, there is asynchronous teaching that can be done. And there are various products out there, right? There is Diksha for school students from the government of India. There is Swayam for college students, again from the government of India. Khan Academy, YouTube, and many others. Okay, that's also not there. Does the student have access to only a basic mobile? In that case, maybe there's a possibility of an audio call where learning and teaching can happen over an audio call. Okay, that also is not there. Basic mobile is also not there, which means student doesn't have access to a mobile at all. And the only option is then to find a buddy in their community, their neighborhood, or take recourse to some of the channels that are promoted by the government on TV, right? So we have tried to look at each student where we are trying to re-engage them and ask these 4 questions, right? Whether there's access to smartphone or a computer and can attend live classes, or only access to smartphone is there but cannot attend online classes, then asynchronous. Does the student have access to only a basic mobile? Then it's an audio call. where when I say audio call, engage them with a story, right? To begin with the storytelling session, and then get them hooked, and then start engaging them in the academic learning and things like that. When the student doesn't have access to a mobile at all, then it's taking recourse to a buddy or through learning through the TV channel. So these are the things that we have tried out. Back to you now.
Thank you, Deepak. Thanks for giving that wonderful, insight about the question. I hope it answers the doubt of the participants. Coming to the next question, it is specifically for Nirbhay. So it is about the book which you have written. They have asked that in the book you have talked about sustainability of CSR, and they want to understand that what do we mean by sustainability, and what is the idea of sustainability when you talk about sustainability in CSR.
Okay, I think that's I think that can be taken up. Can you hear me? Or
yeah, now.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, Nirbhay, go ahead.
Yeah. So more around the book was the sustainability was more from a perspective of there are couple of views that one can take on the sustainability. One was more around the how do you see sustainability more from a projects that you have been funding? How do they sustain on their own when you withdraw from something? That's one way of looking at it. The second sustainability that one can look at it is more about the environment and sustainability, the two parts of it. So therefore, for me, to address that, I think it needs a little more time to answer it. But purely from my own engagement is, can a program be sustainable the minute I withdraw? Do I have some of those segments already built into it, or it's perpetually that I need to fund? I'll give a couple of examples. Say if I'm funding an orphanage, it's a perpetual funding that needs to be done. Versus a program of skill building or a skill development or a livelihood program, which can make maybe a couple of years I fund, or maybe 3 years I fund, or 5 years I fund, and thereafter it becomes self-sustainable on its own. So there are multiple ways of looking at how we define sustainability. So that's more on the book part of it. But if there is anything specific to the topic, I can certainly address.
So there is another question, and it's an important question, that how do you choose your themes as per employee engagement? And is it left on the employees, or is it decided by the organization?
Oh, that's interesting to ask. Yeah, so there are two ways of looking at some of these challenges. One is more from a perspective of what is the corporate strategy, what's your focus areas, and sticking to those areas particularly. Say for us, STEM is a priority area, so we stick to that and we continue to work on that area while we build other additional programs as and when required. So do we have employees who can support? Yes, that base you have to build it and take it forward from there. So therefore, it is strategically aligned to the global or your region or maybe India specific engagement. So what kind of program that you are offering? The second, there are ad hoc programs that you need to open with it. Maybe there are a group of employees who are really keen to pick up some of programs and offer it. I will give a classic example of audio books, which is something while we we haven't done in the past. We did bare minimum, but there was a huge demand for it, because I'll tell you how did we got into this. So I have one of the team members who is passionate. In fact, both of them are very passionate. They themselves actually scribe. So we finished visually impaired examinations, and then we hit into the lockdown. And both my team members are very quick on the feet, and they realized, oh yeah, it's a time that these students do not have access to the regular system that is in place. So we had to move into the audio books. While we did the audio books more from an ad hoc, but right now we made it a regular activity, and we have as many employees participating. That's one segment that we picked it up. The second segment that we picked it up was more around menstrual health and hygiene program for the girls program, which is not a priority for us. But after doing a couple of interventions, we realized this is one area among health was neglected, if you look at that way. So we had a program exclusively for the women employees, and we offered it. Of course, we needed a pivot. So I have my team member who pivots that program, passionate, sincere, and also picks up the stream and moves on where it's required. So from that angle, so you have to have one strategic area where your corporate is engaging. The second, more about ad hoc engagement that employees. But however, one can always have hybrid models where what's required in the ground. That also is very, very important. The way Deepak was sharing about, you do an evaluate and see whether there's a technology availability or not. But there are certain areas where we are venturing into, there is no technology at all. We are sending the workbooks and we have mentors supporting them over the basic phone facility. So virtual does not necessarily mean it has to be a phone, it has to be web-based. So there has to be multiple hybrid models we need to evolve, and they're going to evolve. So it's a basically we have to see what works best based on the corporate, the beneficiary, and the intermediary NGO that's facilitating us. So that's how I'll put it that way.
Thank you, Nirpai. The next question is open to all of the panelists, and this question is quite interesting. It asks that how do corporations evaluate impact of their employees involved in digital volunteering, and how are corporations engaging the digital volunteers, or is it completely employee driven? This is the question. So any one of you can, who wants to answer?
I guess Deepak can lead it.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Deepak.
When we are talking about employee volunteering program, it's essentially individual social responsibility, right? It would not be so prudent for the corporate to kind of say, hey, we need to get into these kind of domains. I think it's an evolution process that needs to happen. In fact, in Cognizant, we like to call the employee volunteering program as grassroots driven, because the passion of the employee is paramount, and they bring ideas to the table. Of course, we can't have n number of things that are happening, because then there won't be focus. I like to share this analogy, right? Nike is known for its shoes. Starbucks is known for its coffee. Of course, you get different other Nike products and different other Starbucks products. And therefore, we also want our employee volunteering program to be known for some flagship program. And that's where we utilize the passion of the employees to then construct certain flagship programs, whereby it leads to meaningful impact. I mean, in the past, when we used to volunteer at the school, we looked at the ASER report, Annual Status of Education report, which talks about how 2/3 of children in standard 5 cannot do 2-digit subtraction, or 50% of students in grade 7 cannot read and write an English statement. And in a volunteering context, you can't have programs that are perennially running. Yes, there will be certain small set of programs, fine, but the larger programs have to be micro volunteering, right? Which I think Abhishek and Nirbai pointed out. And so we devised a 5-week or a 6-week program called Challenge to Teach, where the intent is to see a improvement in their learning level. And when I'm talking about this impact study, I'm not talking about engaging a PwC or any of the consulting firms or any of the assessment partners. It was basically a set of an initial questionnaire, which is the pre-assessment questionnaire, which is administered to students. We know who doesn't clear the pre-assessment questionnaire. They are put through a 4-week coaching by the volunteers, and in the 6th week, there is an end line, which is a post-assessment questionnaire. And we are able to see the difference as to how many children who did not clear the pre-assessment have cleared the post-assessment. That's one form of impact study that we did, which showed that just in 6 weeks, we were able to improve the learning levels of 70% of the students who underwent, the pre-assessment and who were not able to clear, kind of thing. And then, the other thing is we are now seeing, thanks to that digital Disha program with Adobe, which our volunteers are driving along with Adobe. Teachers are creating very beautiful websites just within 4 weeks. And it probably is about 15 hours of volunteering. That's what we need. I'm not talking about any professional impact study that we have done in these examples, but the idea is to start a program with a goal and what we are trying to achieve, right? Of course, not possible in all cases, but must be done in flagship programs that we want to be known for.
Yeah, now, my inside.
Your voice is cracking.
Now you're on mute.
Nirbhay, you were saying something. Nirbhay, I think I lost you in between.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't hear you, Nirve. Now you also on mute.
Can you go ahead with the next question?
Right. So coming back to the question, there's one more interesting question, and Abhishek, probably you can help me with this. The question is that does this mean that digital volunteering also opens up the restrictions which is there somewhere in the policy which says that we have to operate within 200 kilometers or 150 kilometers of the radius, right? Does it allow us to go beyond now with this?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting thing. I think CSR and the volunteering, I think now it's like a boundaryless, right? I mean, even why only 200 would say when our employees are going to participate in teaching children the lesson, vice versa, and we have done that. So one good thing has happened is that where you have a classroom where we have 30 or 20 students, but I think today we are seeing that we're able to manage more children in the Zoom classes and other in interventions. What we are seeing that I think we're effectively able to manage that. One example which I want to talk about is the Microsoft Digital Literacy, where we thought that we'll start with the Bangalore schools and with maybe 50 numbers and 100 numbers to start with. But when we shared this invite, and obviously now it's going on WhatsApp, people are free to kind of share it. And then finally, we got 2,800 plus registration from the teachers, including government, non-government school, because we didn't want to kind of restrict a lot on that. And when we were actually doing this classes, every day the classes was going on, we figured it out that even the teachers who were joined from Indian origin people who joined from places like Maldives, from Dubai, and so many Oman and other countries, right? So that's what like a surprising for us, that how our CSR volunteering has kind of also invited interest from other people, right? Most of our other program, which is whether it's the digital summer camp or DIY programs, what we're doing, we have children coming, across the regions, right? Even the teachers for informatica. Some challenges we are facing on the language front because most of our programs are actually happening in English. But if the prominence is more Karnataka, then we have Kannada speaking volunteers as well. But when we club, let's say children from Maharashtra, children from Karnataka and elsewhere, then sometimes it's kind of create because we have to use like Hindi, English, and then Kannada. So those are the little bit of challenges we face at times. But I think over the period, we are overcoming those challenges. But I think this is an opportunity for us to do both. There's another thing which we are thinking of doing is about. So I think all the state governments are starting this TV classes. I think already they announced on Chandana in Karnataka, Chandana channel. We're trying to see that how children engage for the TV channel for 3 to 4 hours in a day, and then they have these tutorial classes where they can ask questions, and there is a two-way interaction with the teachers, etc. So that we are also trying to build that part, and obviously we have to do a similar thing for Maharashtra, where we have to use Marathi-speaking volunteers. Yeah, but apart from the language, I haven't seen anything a major issue in doing this.
Thank you, Abhishek. I'll take one more question. Though the entire interaction is going on it's very interesting, and we all are really indulged in listening to all of you, all the panelists, with so much of information. But we are running short of time. So there's one more question which is there, and it is in relation to how do we ensure that that digital volunteering happens, like you're talking about education, but you also talked about carbon credits and other initiatives. So beyond education, are there other things which are happening within digital volunteering apart from education? Is it happening in?
You're asking me?
I'm asking to all the panelists.
Okay.
I'll start off. Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. Some feedback. Okay. One of the things that I want to really call out is that digital volunteering has actually enabled deep relationship establishment with NGOs and nonprofits. In the past, we used to sort of engage with them. Hey, what is the community that you're working in? What is the school? Which group of people that you are working with? Is there volunteering opportunity? Or they used to approach us saying, hey, there is this kind of a volunteering opportunity. So it was, I thought, little bit transactional. When I need them, I reach out to them. When they need me, they reach out to me, kind of thing. But digital volunteering has sort of exploded what we call as the pro bono volunteering, or using professional skills of the employee to support nonprofits, right? So what it means is we have engaged with the staff members of various nonprofits to help them master some of the MS Office suite, like presentation, Excel, Word, and so on. And many of them have acknowledged the improvement in their productivity. The other thing is agile workshop. When they are planning a certain program, how can you conceptualize, ideate, and then not jump into implementation? Design thinking workshop. We are supporting them with certain tools which are custom developed by employees, like a simple Excel-based expense management system. And then I want to quote this example that happened in UK and Scotland, where there was we were reached out by a volunteer, not from Cognizant, but from the field, who was working in emergency rescue area. And they talked about, hey, there is a lot of donors on one hand who are ready to provide whatever is required in terms of food, in terms of supplies, and so on. And there is a charity, on the other hand, who is constantly reaching out to raise funds. There are beneficiaries or people who require that aid, and there are volunteers. Is there a way to connect all of them together? The beneficiary, a volunteer, the donor, and the charity. So within about 4 to 5 weeks, a team from our office in UK developed a platform which we have now rolled out not only for that original purpose that was intended, but we are now working with about 8 to 10 charities around the world. And it's available, offered to them free of cost. We offer implementation support, and they've started to use it. So I would really, quote some of these as examples where we have helped charities improve their operational efficiency by means of various programs.
Thank you, Deepak. And so I would, one second. I would mention a wonderful session, webinar, all three of you sharing your experiences and giving us generic idea overall. So I thank you, Deepak. I thank Abhishek. I thank Nirbhay. Take out time and have a discussion and start, actually push us to think towards digital volunteering and digital education. It's a wonderful initiative. It's a wonderful, beginning for all of us. And yes, I think I'm on behalf of all the participants. I feel that we would like to have some more discussions like this, more specific in terms of answering the questions. I'm sure there are many other questions, and I have not been able to take all the questions because it was flooded with a lot of questions during the last part of the session. So is it okay if I take questions from the participants and forward it to all panelists, if you can answer it through mail or through, some other mode?
Google Doc.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. That can be done.
Sure, yeah, share it via Google Doc. I may not be able to answer all questions, but collectively we should be able to answer. And I think there was one question somebody asked: how can they get connected with the panelists? I would suggest connect with us on LinkedIn if you feel the need to connect. And yes, we will then engage. Yeah, that's the question.
Right. Abhishek, your opinion, please.
No, I think I second on both LinkedIn as well as the Google Doc, and maybe you can send a summary to all the participants, so that it kind of covers everything. What you like to do.
Right. So thank you for your time, and I'll be sharing the details of the this entire webinar. And hopefully we will be able to host another webinar in the coming months or coming weeks. If the panelists are available and we have more people coming in and sharing, we would be able to take the questions. So thank you once again to all the participants for coming in here, for responding to the Google Docs, for giving their opinions and asking questions in the Google Docs and within the chat as well. So, that's really appreciable, because you have took out time to put so much of effort. So thank you for coming here, and I'm sure that we are going to continue with this kind of talk. You can write to me as well at nav@arcmind consultancy.com if you have any questions. I can definitely pass on to the speakers, to the panelists, and probably I can also contribute in some or the other way in terms of answering the questions in some in the coming future. So I hope that we again meet maybe within 15 to 20 days or within a month I hope all the panelists would agree to this, right? On this. So thank you once again. Have a very good evening. Please be safe. Keep yourself sanitized. Be at home. Enjoy the lockdown as much as you can. I know it is difficult to be online and inside the home. However, this is the new normal which we are accustomed to in the last 3-4 months. So I'm sure that we all will be able to deal with it in a very, very positive way. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day. Very, very amazing evening. Right. Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you, Nav. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.